Just this a little bit. First of all, let me start off by saying Happy New Year.
Yay!
This is the first time that I've seen you all this year. So Happy New Year. Happy New Beginnings. This is an opportunity for us to truly to tap into who we are and whose we are. And the thing that I'm remembering is even with everything that's going on in the world, there is a spark within us that is just waiting to be lit. You know, sometimes we get this little small little flame. You know it's there. It's like one of these candles that here is flickering. But the thing is, it's like we need a bigger flame. But it begins with us within. It's when we recognize that there are things happening in the world. We're not going to deny that. But we also know that there are things happening within us. I had a conversation this morning with a beloved of mine, and we were talking about, are we doing enough in the world? Sometimes, you know, we see people protesting and marching out here and doing all sorts of things. And sometimes it makes us wonder, and I don't know if it's come up for you all, but for me sometimes, am I doing enough, or am I to do more? What is it that I'm to do more of? And I love, Amy, when you pulled starting a revolution. That right there, we think about like with the revolution. I wasn't here when we had the Black Panthers and stuff here. It's like in that area. But it's still where we are. The revolution begins with us, because when we can tap in, when we can listen and ask Spirit, what is mine to do? That listening and that action step, it's such an amazing thing. And sometimes what Spirit may give us to do may seem scary as I don't know what. And sometimes we may have to sit back and say, okay, is it time for me to do this now? When I get information, when I get like these divine downloads, I always ask, am I to do something with this now, or is this something to do in the future? And if it's for me to do now, I'm like, really? You want me to do this right now? Okay. Because sometimes when it says in the future, I'm like, ooh, I got a little reprieve here. I can breathe a little bit. But that means there's something stirring up within me that's like, okay, you're preparing me to go and do this next step. And that's what this whole thing of where we are, rekindling that flame, because the flame has never gone out. We think it's, how do they say it? It's like, you know, we allow ourselves to put a bushel over our light. And that's not who we are. There's a divine spark that has been created since our creation, since we were created, since we said, yes, I want to come here now, for whatever reason, that spark was lit. And even when we're in our mother's womb, that spark it's gearing up, it's rising up, because I know there are a lot of us, you know, we came here and our mothers probably said, man, you really wanted to be here, huh? You just couldn't wait to be here. What is it that you're here to do? And it's so amazing, because when we realize that there is something for us to do, it's like there's nothing that can stop us from doing it except for ourselves. Even as many times as I've traveled around different places, I've always been led to show up in communities where I can make a difference, however that is. I may not always know what that looks like, but I'm grateful, because when that spark within me is ignited, really ignited, I feel it. And it's like, and it moves me. When I connect with each person, I feel that spark within them as well. When I'm walking around out in the world, and I see houseless people that are there, what is it that I'm to do? And it's like, and I may not have much that I can do in that moment, but as I pass them on the street, I say a blessing for them, that they're safe, that they are housed however they can be, because our weather is changing. It has changed. It went from warm to all of a sudden it was freezing cold almost, and then now it's it warmed up again, and now it's starting to drop. But I look at places like in Texas. I have friends in Texas, and they're dealing with snow or hailstorms, and I lived in Dallas for a while, so I understand what's happening. So I get that, and I lived on the East Coast, so I know snowstorms. It happens. But we deal with people that don't have power in their homes right now. What is it that we can do? There are organizations that are out there that are supporting individuals that need support, and yet our government is trying to shut some of these down. How do we stand up and protest or write and say this needs to stay open? Where do we show up and serve? This morning, when I was preparing for this talk, what kept coming to me was this Martin Luther King quote. And I use this periodically, but not in the way that it was written, but still in a way that serves me. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to read how Martin Luther King said this. And he says, use me, God. Show me how to take who I am, who I want to be, and what I can do, and use it for a purpose greater than myself. And so I recognize that when I connect with this, when I've connected with this, it's put me in some amazing places that I never even thought that I would be in. And I've shared with you all before, it's like my paid service is in the funeral business. So I never thought that being a minister and working with a funeral home, not that they don't go together, but I didn't think that's where I would be. But it has been such an amazing experience, so much so that and I've been there it'll be almost a year that I've been with this company. And within that time, me listening and using what Spirit has called me to do, rekindling that spark within me, it has led me to meeting some amazing people, some amazing families, to hold space for those that are in grief, those that are hurting, those that are in pain. And in that space, when I've just allowed myself to just be, I just show up. It's like, how do I serve? What is my purpose here in this moment? And families come back and just say, thank you so much for being in that space, holding that space. Just, sometimes I can just see what needs to be done before the family does sometimes. Let me go fix this, rearrange this, and it makes a difference. That's that part of allowing God to use me. And so as I've been with this company, what happened last month it was this year, the beginning of this year. I was actually, not say nominated, I was chosen as Employee of the Year with this company. And I tell people, I don't do this for the rewards, it's like for the benefits, because my reward is how do I show up, to be able to connect and meet these individuals that I meet on a daily basis. That's my gift, that's my reward, that's the gift that I give. And it's paid off in this way that I was like, I didn't even know y'all had an Employee of the Year thing, so that wasn't even like, that's what I'm going, that's my goal, no. It's how do I show up? And it's not just for the families, it's for the staff. It's for, the community at large. And so that's the thing. It's like when we ask ourselves that question with Martin Luther King, use me, God. And I know you have a song coming up by Ricky as well. And that was one of the things that triggered me as well. But it's like, use me. When we say that, be ready, because if you're really, really serious about that, there's going to be things that are going to show up for how Spirit is going to use you out in this world. It could be writing. It could be going and reading to someone that can't read, or going to be with someone who doesn't have any family here, that, open up that space. Years ago, I used to go to the hospital, and I would sit with babies that were born. And they would allow me, because as a minister, it's like, and where I was at the time, they allowed me to be able to go in, and I was in the infantry ward, and I would just hold babies. And as I was holding the baby, I would just say, thank you for being here. You are a light. You are here to do good things in this world. I would just speak that love to them. And I don't know what happened to the babies afterwards, but I know in that moment, that was what I was called to do. So when that spark comes up, what are you called to do? How are you allowing Spirit to use you in this world right now? Because yes, there is a lot of chaos that's happening here. There's a lot of turmoil that's happening. And as we look at what's happening in Minnesota over and over and over again right now, it's like, what do we do? How do we stand up for what's right? And I know, many people here in this community, there are protesters here. There are people that write letters here. There are people that go out and sing out in the world, that space of love, that go out and pray in the world. What is it that you are called to do? Regardless of what your parents may have said, your siblings may have said or are saying, your friends, in this moment, they don't matter. Because when you're being called, when you're listening to that inner spark within, I just say, just hold on tight. Because what happens is you get pulled into something that you didn't even imagine that you were capable of doing. So many times people say, well, I don't have the right education. I don't have the right job, credentials for this. I don't have this. But wait a minute. That means you're trying to allow this company, these people, to validate who you are. And you don't need their validation. Because what I know is that when we were born, we've already been validated by Spirit. Spirit validated us. We're here right now. Each one of you that's in the room, each one of you that's online, you have been validated. And there's a group that I'm a part of, and we had a Zoom meeting, and there was a young lady that mentioned that when she talked about that not needing to be validated. Because so many times we want to seek people's approval. We want to get their permission. But when Spirit is calling you to do it, you don't need their permission, because their permission may be, well, no, who are you going to go out? Who are you to do this? You don't have that skill. You know nothing about that. Until you go out and do it, and then you prove them wrong, because then they're like, oh, wow, you really did do that, huh? Wow, that was really amazing. And they look at you like, who are you? It's like, you know what? I'm the divine in human flesh, moving through this world, doing what it is that I'm called to do. This co-creation that we have with Spirit, that there is nothing outside of us that's guiding us to say, go do this, go do this. It's when we tap within, that divine is within us. And so when we tap within and we listen, be it in meditation, be it in prayer, be it driving down the street sometimes, and you might get called to say, go left, go right, go straight ahead. Park your car right here and walk into this store. Because we never know, because somebody may need to see your presence. Somebody that you may not have seen in years may show up in your space. And they may need a hug at that moment. And I've had that happen. Surprisingly, when I was in Texas, somebody that I knew that I was in school with years ago, and I was walking from the front, and this is how Spirit guided me. I was walking from the store, from the front of the store to the back, and just as I was about to go through the back entry of the store, I saw my friend standing there. I didn't even know she lived in that area. And I looked around and like, hey! And it's like, and we both saw each other, and it was like, and there was this hug, and then all of a sudden she just started crying. And it wasn't just to see me, but there was a lot that she was dealing with. And I just realized, thank you, Spirit, for allowing me to be in this space at this moment, at this time. This is how that, when we connect with that spark within, this is one of the ways of how it shows up. When we're listening, when we're creating songs, whatever it is. I have singers here in the house, right? Musicians in the house. When we're creating these spaces and these tunes, there's something within us that says, write this lyric out. We never know how this song is going to affect the world. Not just, and maybe it's just one individual, but that one individual, you could light a spark within them to have them to go out and do something, create something for our communities, for this world. This is that opportunity time to be in agreement with Spirit. When we hold this agreement with Spirit, say, yes, okay, Spirit, I'm doing this. Yes, I surrender to this, okay. And other times there's like, oh, I didn't think about that. I'm doing this right now. We look at things as being big or small, hard or easy. And God, that doesn't exist. It just is. This is what you're called to do. When I think about this music thing, we can call it a little rattle, whatever. It's like, but what it is, this is energy. I'm holding solid energy right here. But I can call this God. This could be my God. Wherever I go, it's like I'm taking God with me. It's like this is my rattle. When something is getting crazy, bring me back. When we're driving in traffic, have it in the car, and people are zooming, zipping.
Yeah.
You know, it's about tapping into that divine spark, because that is that spark within, because it allows us to lighten up and to look at things in a different way. You know, I know our parents have taught us a number of things of how to live our lives. Some parents have told us what kind of jobs to get. You know, you need to marry this kind of person, or you need to have children at this age or whatever. And people listen to that. And some, when they listen, they feel so miserable because they realize later on that they were doing it for someone else and not themselves. They weren't really listening to that divine within them. So as we get older, and it doesn't matter how old we are, Spirit can come and say at any moment, what I want you to do is travel around the world. Go to chapels, go to churches, go to whatever, synagogues, mosques, and have your presence be felt there. Connect with the people in that community. Show your light. Allow your light to shine. We never know when we look at what gifts we have, sometimes we don't allow others to know what our gifts are. We know what we can do, but then sometimes we kind of like, yeah, I just sing a little bit, or it's like I just write a little bit, but the thing is, it's like and people say, you write? You sing? It's like, yeah, well, what do you have? Sing a song for me. Read some of your work. We never know how, when that question is asked of us, of how it opens up to something greater. That's listening and tapping into that divine, co-creating with Spirit. Because if we left it up to our own demise, it's like, oh, well, I'm going to go back over to DC. I'm going to go hang out there, and it's like, and just kind of chill there, because it's like, yeah, California's too expensive, or California's this. And then I get there and I'm really miserable because that's not where I really needed to be, but it's like, well, I have family there, so I can go hang out with family over there, but that's not where I'm called to be. So then after a period of time, I moved back to California. Yeah, I should have stayed here in the first place. But I realized even in my journey of me traveling and being in different places, it's been answering that call. Even when I first left from here, and I would stop by Starbucks on my trip from when I moved from here to Georgia. So Starbucks was my little office along the way. And as I was driving, I had my laptop, and I would start just writing about my journey. And then one thing Spirit dropped into me was to create my email address. My email address is My Root Connections. And what that is connecting with my roots. And when I first heard it, I'm like, well, which roots am I connecting to? Am I connecting to my family roots, or am I connecting to what? And it's just keep on moving. And there was one day, and I'd been there maybe about 2 years, and I was sitting on my porch. And I asked Spirit, I said, all right, Spirit, why am I here by myself? Because it was just me. I knew some people in the area that I was working with, but they weren't like family, community. And what I received was, this move was for me to become more rooted in Spirit, rooted in what I'm here to do. And it was at that moment, probably maybe a couple of months after that, that I kept getting this spark. go to ministerial school. I'm like, I'm not doing that. But it was what served me and continues to serve me. Not just to be here to speak to others, but it's also how do I show up? How do I continue to deepen my awareness with spirit within me? And in that listening, it led me to other communities. It led me to be able to lead a center for 2 years in Georgia, not knowing that was not the intention, but that's what happened. But everything that I needed, when we say yes, when we answer that divine call, everything that we need comes into play. We just have to be patient with it, because many times we want to say, I want this now, and, well, it hasn't happened yet. 5 minutes later, it still hasn't happened yet. All right, I'm going to give you a half an hour, and if you don't. But how many times we get impatient when we're asking for something? Sometimes things has to fertilize. It has to come together. The right people have to come together in order to make what it is that you've been called to do possible. So that's what this co-creating with spirit is, being patient with ourselves, being patient with what we're seeing that's happening in the world and what's ours to do, because there is something that's happening, that there is a shift that's happening on our planet right now, that things that are showing up of how they may have been months ago, people are changing, people are leaving out of those positions, we continue to pray, we continue to hold that space, we continue to hold and know that there is something greater that's unfolding. We may not see it in this right now moment, but when you trust and believe and connect with divine spirit, trust that there is something that's happening. When we start seeing, what I'm getting is like with the children, how children are being separated from their families, and how hard that is for not just the child, but for the parents as well. Because now you have children that are out there alone in this atmosphere that they don't know anyone. And that's creating in their minds right now, that's creating a story that they're making up, that they can take into this world, further into the world. That their parents, it's like, how did my parents let this happen to me? They don't love me. It's like, who are these people that are keeping me separate from my parents? These are stories that some may be making up, and they may take this into their world, because how these interactions are happening with these children, it will affect how they show up in the future. The thing is, because, and even as we tell the stories, many of us have gone through struggles and some type of disappointments or something that may have happened to us in our past. And in that moment, I can speak for me, that I may have thought, well, they just don't like me. They'll say, because why are they treating me this way? And I say, well, I don't like this company. I don't like these people because they don't like me, so I'm going to go somewhere else. But still in the mind, you're thinking about what happened over here. You can go into a new job, a new relationship, a new situation. But if you're still holding on to what's happening over here, what happened in the past, that, well, my parents didn't love me, my partner didn't love me, the company didn't appreciate me. You come into this company, this new relationship, you're still playing those same tapes over and over again. When we get to a place that we can trust the divine within us, go into prayer, go sit and say, you know what, Spirit, I know I'm in a new place. This is a new time, a new moment, because right now is a new moment. When we go into prayer, trust that answer that comes up in that new moment. What is really true of who I am? Not what my parents thought of me, not what my teachers thought, not what my friends thought of me. What is true of me now? Allow that answer and move from that place. Oh, I'm this divine spark. I got this. Let's go. The thing is, it's like, hold on to that. Hold on to that spark. Allow that spark to move you forward, to move you out of what may appear to be a rut. Get lifted up with spirit. When we are co-creating with spirit, allow that. Hold on to the coattails. Hold on to spirit like this. You know, it's like your life depends on it, because it does. Because what you've been called here to do It's amazing. And whether you think that it's not, it is. Trust me. Because as Spirit is giving me this information, I know some of you all in the room, some of you all, this is my first time meeting, but what I know is we've come here together in this moment to create something amazing. Your energy, your voices, your beingness here, the spirit that you brought when you walked through that door, you're creating something new. You're opening up your community. This is a community. This formation will never be the same again. What we have here, as we look around the room, look at each person in the room, and just recognize that this is a co-creating. You're co-creating with Spirit, with this person, with this person, with this person. This is happening now. The smiles, see the smiles that have come up because, if nothing else, you've connected with their heart space. So we just allow ourselves to be in that space. So right in this moment, I want us to go into prayer. And when you go into prayer, just think about the statement, use me, God. Show me how to take who I am, who I want to be, and what I can do, and use it for a purpose greater than myself. What does that look like? Because when we are in that space of recognizing Spirit is using us for something greater than us, than this humanness that we are, and greater than our minds, what I know is that miracles upon miracles upon miracles happen every moment. That we step into this awareness, this time together, knowing that this moment is perfect. I know that God is everywhere present, in every person present, in everything, every individual that we see either here in this space, out in the streets, in our homes. God is present right then and there. When we walk into the stores, the presence of God is right there. And you can call it God, Source, Spirit, whatever name that you may have for it. But know that it is right there. It doesn't care what name you use. It only cares that you connect with that. And so in this awareness, in this right now moment, I know that we're all opening up to something much greater. That Spirit is allowing us and touching each one of our hearts right now. Allow yourselves to feel Spirit touching your heart. There's like this warmth that's moving through your body right now, and knowing that it is already done, that you are calling forth, that you are being called to do, knowing that you are supported, you are loved, that you are guided in a right and perfect way. Knowing that God opens doors that no one else can open for you. God moves mountains out of the way to allow you to move through. This is what we are doing right now in this prayer, recognizing the oneness in all things, all people, knowing that who we are and whose we are is the Creator that created each one of us. Recognizing and giving thanks and knowing that all we need to do is just continue to say yes. Say yes to life, yes to love, yes to peace, yes to joy, yes to Spirit within, yes to ourselves. That in this moment, that yes is already gone out into the universe, and knowing that that yes cannot return to you void. That it must go out and do what it is that you've put out into the universe to do. So I am just grateful for this time that we have come here together for this moment, knowing that all truly is well. And what I know is that underneath of that, of all that we see with our human eyes, that as we tap into with our inner eye, we see something different. We see a world that works for all. We see peace. We see the change that we want to see happen. Tap within. Know that it is done. And is done well. And I just anchor this prayer with blessed be, Ashe, Aho, and so it is. Amen.
Yeah.